So today we are starting with something called as Azure batch process questions. If you look at the AZ204 exam, first thing, let me know if you can hear my voice and if you can see my screen. If yes, please put down on the chat. Yes. Azure batch process. That's what the uh, question is today. So first thing what we will do is let us go and demonstrate what exactly is Azure batch process and how does it work and so on, right? And then we will go through the question. The question is quite easy, but if you're not aware of the Azure batch process, then this code, what you see out here, which he has put this question actually uses this code, right? And it will be difficult to understand it. Okay. So let me go to my portal out here. Anyone here who has worked with Azure batch process? Let me know. Azure batch process. Anyone who has worked with Azure batch process? So actually, okay, I've created what I do is that I create these groups like delete now, right? So that I delete it. So anyone here who has looked into Azure batch process very quickly, if you go and if you Google around, I'm sorry, I was just cleaning up something out there. So Azure batch process, Azure batch, that's it. And if you go to the first link of the Azure batch process, that's what it is, right? Azure batch process, helps you to run a large scale application at, if you have a computing task at the background, if you want to run that, if you want to allocate it dynamically, like example, you want to say, create a job, like for example, you say, I want to run a batch. Okay. So for that, you need a machine. So what the batch process does is the batch process says that you don't have to create a big machine out there. You don't have to create a full VM. We have shared VMs. From the shared VMs, I will give you something. So this Azure batch process is kind of very dynamic. You assign the VMs dynamically. You create a job. You add a task and say process. And once the task finishes, you can literally go and delete that VM. So you can think about that, how cost effective it is, right? And you can see here, if you look at the documentation out here, there are lots of ways of running a batch. You can create an Azure CLI and if you can run it, you can run a batch process from the command line. So you can create a batch account, create a batch service, and you can do it from the command line, right? And then you can also do it from .NET. So from .NET, you can do it completely dynamically and so on. So what I will do for now is first, let us try to, you can see that this is run a batch from the Azure portal. First thing, before I start with this batch process, there are a couple of things over here. When you create this batch process, it tells you to create something called as pool. This pool is nothing but, the nodes, the computer nodes, where this batch will run. So when you go and if you say, create a batch account, he will say that add a pool, right? And to that pool, we add a job. And to that job, we add a task, right? So if you look at the hierarchy out here, this Azure batch process, at the top, you have a pool of nodes, which has computers in it. And then to that node, to that pool, we go and we add a job, right? And then to that job, we add a task. Now this task can be anything. For example, you can see here, he is saying here, it's in command line, which it is running, like, set command line at greater than null and keep running it. And then if you want to go and see the output, you can see the output in the standard output text, right? So if you want, you can go and you can do this manually out here. Let us try to do this manually. Let me try to first do it manually, and then I will show it using .NET, right? So let us try to do it manually. So let us go here. Let us create an Azure batch. So Azure batch. Let me follow the tutorial as it is, batch account. So create a batch account. Yes, I'm going to go and create a batch account. I can see that I have a batch account, but this batch account is a stale one. I want to really delete it. Yes, I'm going to delete this batch account. This batch account I had created some days back. So fine. So I'll create a batch account out here. I deleted the resource group. That batch account did not get deleted from there. I'm not sure why. So let's see. Let's say that this is, what is today? 12/9. Okay. 12.9 resource, delete, so that I will remember that I have to delete this resource. So batch account, I will say it here as, now every batch what you run out there, it is available through the API URL. It is available through the API URL. For example, here I can say this is QuestPond batch, right? So QuestPond batch dot whatever, wherever that API is made. So this API from, is a place, from where you can access that batch, you can trigger that batch and so on, right? So I'm going to go and create this batch account. So at the top, we have the batch account. Inside the batch account, we'll create a pool. Into that pool, we will create a job. And to that job, we will assign a task, a simple command line task, right? So there it is, Microsoft batch account. So that is the batch account. So now it says a batch service. I have a batch account. Batch service. Have they updated this? I'm not sure. It is saying inside. I don't see that. Looks like this. You need a batch account, right? And this. Fine, it's the same thing. Why is this name as service? I'm not sure, right? Okay, in the batch account, select pools. So let us go ahead here. I'm not, I was just confused why it is showing here batch service. So I was just confused with that. Okay, so now to that batch account, I'm sorry. Let us go and create a batch pool here. So I'm going to go to the batch account. So we have created QuestPond batch. So in that we have the pools. And let us go and add a pool, right? So some pool ID out here, let's say QuestPond pool 1, 2, 3, and the same will be the ID, the same will be the display name, right? Right, so there it is. Now, you can see now when you say that you need an operating system, right, where you will run the job. So you can see that there are lots of things out here. For example, you can take it from the marketplace. In marketplace, what people have done is, they have, like, I can go and I can create my own, I can take a server from Azure. I can go and I can create a service, where somebody can run a batch account and I can host it in marketplace. So in other words, I can take a large server and I can run a lot of batches and also sell that as a batch service. Let's say I take a VM out there, and in that VM I'm hosting something, and then I feel like my VM is not utilized. So I can go and I can host in the marketplace so that anybody else can use it. So that is one, is that marketplace out there, right? Second is, you say, no, like I want to take it from the Microsoft Windows server or from somewhere else, right? So let us go and select the same one here. So we will let us see what should we select. Let me select. Let's select this Windows Cloud Services Windows. Let us look at what other options we have. Oh no, I'm not selecting that. Let me select Microsoft Windows Server. Let us select the same thing. Microsoft, this one, Microsoft Windows Server is a publisher, and Windows 2019 Data Center small disk. Fine, I'll take that. Okay. Let us select whatever is default out there. Do you want to encrypt this disk? No, I don't want to encrypt any kind of disk out here. Select software pricing. So, okay, this is great. Now, when you say that you want to run a batch, probably sometimes, people use this to run batch, like, they want to process 3D Max, or they want to process using some another software, they want to process something. Then, for example, if you want to process 3ds Max or Maya, then you have to actually take their license. So that's what that license is. Well, I'm not going to process any one of these at this moment. Let me select the least one, that is this A1, right? And max task, I will just say 1 I want to run. And I think other things are all, I will just go and I will create it. Let me see that what the tutorial says. 2 dedicated nodes. Do I need 2 dedicated nodes really? I don't think so. Nodes. So yeah, dedicated nodes, at least 1 I will need. So Let me take it 2. I don't know why he has given 2 out there. Let me not take risk. Allocate state is resizing. If you take this, right, if you say that the task is resizing, the state is resizing. Resizing means what it will do now is it will say that, okay, like if let us say your task is becoming much heavy, it will spawn one more node, right? So looks like everything is okay. I'll just say okay out here, and that should create a pool. So you can see now pool has been created, correspond pool 1, 2, 3. Now to this pool we will add a job. So this is the pool, and we will add a job out here. So we'll say just say job 1, 2, 3, job correspond 1, 2, 3. And to this job, so I'm this job is getting assigned to this pool. I'll just say okay. And to this job we will assign a task, right? And if you look at the task says that in the command line we are just going to display this. We're going to go and run this set az batch at the rate timeout, right? So what this will do is this will just go and run this small command out here, and it will show it in the task output, right? Now this can be anything. You can go and you can run a directory if you want. This command C, if you see what this command C does is, it's a Windows command, CMD, that's what it is. Command C, I want to run directory. So command C, I want to run something else, right? So we can run even command C directory if you want, right? So I will go here and let me add a task. So task respond 1, 2, 3. Now that is a command line. So what I can do is let me take our command. Let me take that directory command, and I've selected uh, Windows Server, right? So it should work fine. So there it is. Anything else I need to look into? No, right? Right, retention time, this and this. Okay, I'll just submit. So there it is. You can see that I have added a task, right? Now, what the batch queue will, now what will happen is, once you go ahead and you add the task, right, it will try to run this task. So you can see that there it is. It will try to run this task here. So, and once the task runs and once we have the output, like we would like to see the directory, that whatever is the output, we will see it out here. So task overview. Refresh. Each task, so I don't know why it is not running. Come on. Why the task? It should have ran till now. Can't I go and let me start it manually? I don't know to start any task manually really. What mistake I have done? Sometimes. Okay. Something is starting out there. And none of the nodes have started actually. All these nodes are there, but I don't see anything starting out there. I think I made some mistake out there. Correspond batch. That is the jobs. The job is this. Okay, now it ran. I'm just hyperactive actually, nothing else. So yeah, it does not but start this task. Why don't you start the task? Okay, looks like active. I did not give him a start time, is it? Let me delete this task out here. I don't know why. Something out here. Okay, Command C. Isn't it somewhere? By default, it just starts the task time. I'm not sure that why. Did I do something? That is the elapsed time. Well, let me see some help. I'm sure that somebody will be. Okay. Because I don't know why this task has not started of mine. After you create a task, batch queue runs, and you know what, it runs in every 90 seconds. So basically the batch on the compute will run on every time. Batch queues it to run on the pool when the node is available. Isn't my node available? I think so. I think so. My node. What happened to my nodes? Hang on. Dedicated nodes. These are my nodes. And it is saying that nodes are just starting. Must be that these nodes have to first start running, isn't it? Okay. Remember, I've created like 2 nodes and 1 priority node and so on. But for some reason, these nodes are just starting. Once these nodes start running, they will go and they will execute that task. So the node has not started, guys. You can see here. For some reason, this has still not started. Why is that not started? Some or other thing should happen when you're doing the demos. Okay, we'll wait for some time. It must be when the nodes start. Remember that at the end of the day, the task has to run inside a node. Very quickly, guys, let me explain you what exactly is Azure Batch. I'm sorry that I don't know why my nodes of Windows 2019, which I've selected, did not start. So here it is. You create a batch account very quickly. I'm sorry for that mess out there, batch account. Inside this batch account, you have to go and you have to create something called as a pool. So this is the QuestPond batch, and I have one QuestPond pool out here. So I will go and I will create a pool. And in this pool, I specify that how many nodes I want. I want 2 nodes or 3 nodes. If you remember when I create the pool. So when you say 2 nodes means what? He will go and he will take one of the shared services. I hope so. It should be a shared service from the marketplace or from wherever it is, right? And over here, he will say, okay, this is 2019 server node 1, and this is 2019 server node 2, right? And then you can go and you can create a job, right? So you can, now this is the pools. You can then go and you can create a job, and then you can say, okay, this job and the same batch account. You can go and say, create a job, and this job will have a task, and that job will run into this pool, right? So if you see here, when I created the job out here, job QuestPond 1, 2, 3, this is actually associated with that pool. Somewhere the job would be associated with that pool, you can see, right? And the task runs inside that pool, right? State completed. I'm really not sure. Okay, now it has done it. Oh, so you can see now. Extremely sorry, guys. I thought that I did some mistake out there, but you can see that it has ran that because the node was getting started, and it has a standard output. In the standard output, I don't expect anything. I just expect the directory command. So you can see that the directory command has ran. There are no directories at this moment, so that command is running out here. If there is an error, it outputs to the standard error, right? So guys, any questions on this structure out here of the batch account of Microsoft? Let me know any questions. So very quickly, let me see any other question. I'm sorry, I was confused. That node was starting and I was saying that why my batch is not running. the marketplace option. So Kumar, the marketplace out there means that anybody can go and sell his own server for running batch. See, nowadays, what is costly is the hardware, right? Let's say I want to go and process 10 PDF files, or let's say thousands of PDF files. And for that, I need a server. I want to do that batch processing. So one is that I go and I hire a VM, right, on Azure, or else, in the marketplace only, what Microsoft said is that these are, the servers which are for batch. They are at a much cheaper cost as compared to VMs. As compared to the full VM, what you get, right, a specialized VM, these are much cheaper cost, right? So here, when you go and you create this batch out here, so when you go and you create the pool actually, so pools. So when you say add a pool out here, this is the marketplace. Now, if you see in the marketplace, it says publisher. Publisher is Microsoft Windows Server. Right now, this Microsoft Windows Server means the Windows Server team. It could be. There could be now this Debian, which is the version of Unix and Linux, right? So those team must have given something. OpenLogic. Nowadays, if you see, OpenLogic is trying to become a reseller of a reseller, right? So and this Microsoft Azure batch, this looks to be a very specialized publisher which Microsoft team must have created, who will only do batch selling, right? Running for the batches. So they all have their own offers and their own cost. You can see that this is by Microsoft Azure batch, which is very Ubuntu server and CentOS. I selected this one, the Microsoft Windows Server team, which will give me a specific Windows Server. And in that, I can select like, data centers and so on. Sometimes what happens is I want to select a Windows Server because probably I want to fire some Windows related command like perfmon or run a what do you call a PowerShell script like PowerShell. I would easily get it in Windows. So something which is very Windows related, if you want, then you will select this. If you say no, like I want something more Linux related, you can take this Debian or you can select the Azure batch also, right? Market is not available for VM creation at this moment. No. The use of pool, as I've said, you can see the use of pool is to assign how many servers you want to run, how many nodes you want to run. So if you see here, when you go down below, you can go and you can specify the nodes out here. So the pool, the whole goal of pool is to assign the node size, right? How much nodes you want and what kind of server you want. You want a Windows server or Linux? So the pool says, you can see here, this is machine 1, this is machine 2. So that's what the node, etc. These are all nodes. And I would suggest the following, that if you are creating a batch process, the best would be that you should use .NET or use some code. Because what you can do is that you can create the VM, the pool size, everything like dynamically, run your batch and then delete it. That's the best thing. Now I'm doing it all manually to show you, but let us go and see that how we can do it dynamically. So I'm seeing that there are no questions out here, but the best way to really do it is by using .NET. So let us go to the same tutorial out there. So this was by the job portal, batch job portal. The one which I'm going to now run is through this .NET out here. So in this .NET, what they have done is, they have given a quick start. They have given a GitHub account out here, and they have in that GitHub, they have given a sample quick start. So what I will do is I will just copy this and let us create a folder and let us try to run that code. So I'm going to go and create a folder out here, .NET Azure batch. Let us see that what kind of code we have. So let us get latest of the GitHub. So command CD, I'll just go inside that E drive in case you're not able to see it. So let us see how to do through .NET, because that question is based on .NET, right? So if you look at that question, that is completely based on .NET. So I'm going to go and clone this and let us see that what it has. Okay, so there it is. I have cloned that sample code which is given by the Microsoft team. Remember, this is all given by Microsoft team. So bash.NET quick start, we can just go through it, what it does. So I'm going to go and open this on Visual Studio 2019. So the first thing very important is that when you open such kind of projects which come from the Microsoft team, give some time, to get all the nugget packages. So if you see here, when you do a Solution Explorer, right, you will see over here at the left hand side, you can see that those yellow signs out there. So it is trying to do a restore. Now there it is. You can see that restore has been done. So you can see that it is using the Azure batch and it is using the storage blob. That's interesting, storage blob. So you must be wondering that why do I need a storage blob, right? Now, most of the time, if you see the activities we do on the Azure batch, it is mostly like processing some files, making a PDF, right? So one of the default things which you really need is that you need an access to the storage account. Azure storage account means to the blob storage or to the queue, right? So that's why, they have added this storage blob out here. And I will show you that how Azure Batch can easily tie up with storage blob. So like, for example, you want to upload a text file, so you can upload it to Azure Blob first. The Azure Batch, can access that. So what you can do is you can go and you can, let's say you want to go and upload some image files and that image has to be converted to PDF, right? So what you can do is you can create a storage account, upload all the files out here. The batch account gets an access to these files, and then you have that task, which runs on these files and creates the PDF. So that's why that storage account thing is given out there, right? Now let me go. Let's go to this code out here. Let us see that what this code has. So you can see it's a very simple program.cs file out here, right? The first thing definitely he says that give me a batch account name, a batch account key, and a batch account URL, right? So I'm going to go now and give him the batch account name. So we already have this QuestPond batch. So QuestPond batch. So let us give it out here, QuestPond batch. I'll just walk you through all the code out here. This I will not be typing out. It's quite tedious because he's creating the VM on the fly. He's creating the pool on the fly. He's taking a marketplace on the fly, right? Which is very interesting, but writing that is quite difficult at this moment. Account key. Yes, let's give him the access key out here. That is the access key. Account URL. Yes, this is the account URL. I'll copy it. Easy peasy. Storage account. Now he says that he wants, the storage account key. Fine. Let's go and create a storage account. Right. So I'm going to go and create a storage account. And as I told you why I'm creating a storage account, because we want to create things dynamically in that storage account, upload files, and then let the Azure batch process access it, right? So 12.9 rest delete, I'll use that. So I'll say QuestPond storage. Just will take general V2 because if you take V1, right, you won't get some of the options. So I don't want to take that V1, review and create. So this is my storage account by the name, whatever. So so storage account. Yeah, QuestPond storage, right? So QuestPond storage. And definitely we need the account key. So let's go to the storage account and let's get the key. Refresh, it is still getting created, is it? Yeah, I can see it is getting created. Okay, it is done, very good. Let's go and get the access keys. Good. That's the access keys. Now we can see that he is creating, this is very much understood now because we have gone and we have seen the, the demo, right? He is trying to create a pool ID called as .NET Quick Start on the fly. And in that pool, he will try to go and add this job out here. And he's going to also go and create a node count of 2 of the standard A1 V2 size of the VM, right? So let us go and see what it is, right? The first thing you can see there are a couple of null checks out here saying that he needs a batch account, he needs a this and this. So this is all the if conditions out here. The first thing what he does is, if you see this code, what this code is doing is that, what is this task is doing? He's trying to upload some text files, and these text files, he want to just go and display it by using the type command. So you can see out here in the task, he's running the command cmd/type, right? So in other words, what he's trying to do is this task, it will do the following. uh, these files will get uploaded. You can see task1 dot data 0 dot text, task2 task data1 dot text will all get uploaded on the Azure data storage container what I've created. And then here he's going to go and try to fire this command cmd/type. What the cmd/type does is, if you see here, like for example, we have the task data text here. So I can say cmd/type in case you have done any kind of command line kind of application. This will just go and print that file. So you can see here, this small command out here, the cmd/type will just go and print that command. So that's what the task is trying to do, right? Fine. So now let us go and see the code, right? So that's the task. So first thing, let us go and start from the top very quickly. He is first accessing the Azure blob client here. So get access to the blob client, right? Remember that inside the blob now, inside the Azure storage, he has to create the blob. So he's creating a blob here called as input. He's trying to do it manually through the program, right? So he will go and he will create inside that a blob container called as input. So you can see here, create if not exist. So he will try to get the name input. If it is not existing, he will try to create it. From the local file, these are the text files, which he will be reading. So he has just created a collection out here of data01.text and data2.text, right? After that, what he does is he takes all of these input files and he tries to upload it to the container. So you can see here, if you go to this definition out here, it goes to the container, it goes to that blob, and he's trying to upload the file. And whenever he uploads the file, he just gives a read permission. This is very essential. If you don't give him the read permission, right, the batch process cannot access it. Remember, the batch process is a very different entity. So when the file gets uploaded out here, the batch process needs a proper policy so that he can read it. So you can see that also he's doing it now. So that means that if I do this manually, if I'm going to go and do this manually, you have to ensure that these rights are given properly, right? So that's what it does. Then he goes and he uses our batch key, our batch account URL, and he creates a batch shared key. What is this batch shared key? This batch shared key is required, because you are going to go and connect the batch account with the storage account. So that's why there's a batch shared key. The next thing what he does is he opens this batch client by whatever credentials you have passed here. So you can see there's a batch client class which opens it, and he creates this by using this batch client. He's trying to go and create a batch pool. So first is he's going and creating an image out here. So we can go to the definition. You can see here these things we selected from the UI, but he's saying that I'm going to go and say Microsoft Windows Server offer is this, and a small disk and the latest version, right? So this is the image what is there. For that image also we need configuration, like what is the kind of you want x64, you want AMD. So that's this is again the second thing, right? And he creates, by using this image, he creates a batch pool. So you can see here, this is the batch pool. This all we have done manually, but that is done through the program, right? And it makes a lot of sense, like I want to run a batch, for just 5 hours. So create a VM on the fly, put a batch pool, run, create the PDF, done, dispose the server, you are done with the work, right? So that's why I like this code, what they have given. So from here to here, this is nothing but creating the batch pool and allocating the type of server from the marketplace, whatever, and the node size and other things, right? Once this is done, now using this batch client, on that we start to create a job. We say that, okay, I want to create a job 123. I don't know what the job ID is. If you go and see the job ID, it is .NET Quick Start job. Fine. So this will go and this will take this job and he will create it into this pool ID. Remember, a job gets allocated to a pool ID, and he says that I want to start the job. This commit says that I want to now start the job. Now, what do you want to do in the job? So in the job, I want to do the following task. Remember, job has task, So the job has a task. So this pool, this VM, everything he has created through the program. Now in this task, what he's doing is he's saying that this is task one, a name of the task, right? A task ID. And what is the command line? In the command line, he's saying, whatever is the input file name, I want to go and run this. Now remember that this can be some more commands like, you want to go and run Maya, you want to go and extract a PDF, you want to make it a PDF and so on. So this can be much a horrible task, but this is at this point a simple task here which just displays the file name. So he goes and he adds this to the task collection and then takes that task and adds it to the job as a bulk. So you can see for this job ID, this is the task. And once this is done right, it will then now start, you can now say that, okay, this job operation, whatever you have, this will actually go and start the task actually. It will actually go and start the task, right? And then what you can do is you can say that, okay, I want to go and monitor this. I want to go and monitor saying that what happened to this task? Is this task had a success or not? So you can see here, this is the create tasks monitor, which says, wait until all the tasks have been finished. Once the task has been finished, he will go and add this all to this added task here, if the task has been completed. And then from that task, I can iterate. You can see the completed task. I can iterate and I can read the things out here. Either I can do it from here, or what I can do is I can, you can see that he's deleting all the resources after that. So we won't be able to delete the pool. You can see a lot of things he's doing out here. But if what this does is it goes to the node file, to that node, and from that node he's trying to get the output file. Remember, there's a standard output. So that standard output file is trying to get. But if you don't go and if you don't delete these nodes out here, you can go and you can see the output later on, right? So what I can do is I will not delete. Let me go and put a debug point here. Must be we can delete it, when we want it. So let's not try to delete it. We can go and we can see it online, right? So you can see that's what this whole thing is. So just remember the hierarchy. You have a task, a cloud task. That cloud task gets added to a job. And that job is what you get, you added that this job is what get added to a batch. So batch, job, task. So even the classes, if you see, of this .NET API is, as we have created in the UI, the same kind of a task they have, right? So let us go and run this and let us see what happens. So I'm going to go and put a debug point here very slowly. Once I do this, then I will come to the questions. So I'll run this. Remember, I've given all the credentials. I hope so. This should not crash. So the only thing what I created is the batch account and the storage account, and all the things this code is going to do it, right? So there it is. It starts fine. I'm not sure what this timer is for here. I think I'm not really sure why this timer they have put out here. So first thing, create a blob client. Yeah, it has successfully passed. Now this is the input container. So this will go and it will create this input container. So that means now if I go and see in my, let us go and see that in the correspond storage, he must have created a container. So we can very quickly go and see that if he has created a container. So you can see here, there is an input container created automatically, right? In this, he will go and he will upload these files. So let us see that as well. So these are the files which are in the local directory at this moment. And he will be uploading these files to this blob. So this is the code out there, which is getting uploaded. So that uploads the file to the blob, right? So if I go and do a refresh out here now, I should see those files. So you can see now those task files, data01.txt and data0.txt all have been uploaded out here. And now this will be accessed by my batch, right? So that is there. We'll see that the batch thing. So now first thing, but he has to go and he has to create the VM, he has to create the pool and so on. So let us see this all works. So I'm going to go and create an image reference, create this and create the batch pool. So let us see. So, oh, awesome. Like he has created the batch pool. Let us go and just verify it if this batch pool has been created. So I'm going to go now to the batch, right? So let us go to the correspond batch out here. And let us see if there is a pool created. So let us see one pool we have created. So you can see that this correspond pool out here, but this .NET Quick Start pool he has created, right? So you can see that he's saying resizing and so on. Fine, let it do it. So there it is, now creating a job. So we're going to now go and create a job. So create a job with the ID .NET Quick Start, right? My only concern out here is that this .NET Quick Start pool, it is still starting. I think we should not have a problem, must be, it will start whenever it is, but the task will be sent later on, right? So you can see at the right hand side, it is not steady, it is resizing, it is probably starting the nodes out there. So if we really go to this pool out here, I think the nodes would be just getting started. So if I go to the nodes out here, why don't we have a node? Shouldn't we have a node getting created? It should have created the node. Okay, must be. There it is. You can see it's taking time. It is so fine. There is a node getting created. We developers are so like so hyper, right? We think that like starting a VM also is like 1 second job, right? So fine. Now the second thing is, to that pool, I am going to go and create a job out there, and so there it is. It is attached to that. That job is there, and then we are now adding task, right? So these are the tasks getting added, and the task is just displaying on the command line the type. Fine. Docs code is working. Microsoft document codes are working now, so that's good. And we say that start monitoring it. So you can see here, monitoring whatever are the attached job operation completed. You can see wait all, and until this task complete, just wait. So you can see now this will probably go in a wait mode now. And let us go and see now. So this will only run once these nodes start out here. So you can see it is starting. Right. So let us see, whenever this starts, you all know that it will take some time. We saw that when we did it manually. And after that, what should happen is I should see in my batch, I should see the output later on. So if I go to my job out here, in the jobs, I should see that the .NET Quick Start has ran, right? And once it runs, any of the task runs, in the output file, I should see the output. You can see still it has not started, because this is still happening, right? So guys, any question on this code out here? You can see the job is still happening out there. The job is still running, right? Once it runs, it will come down. So any questions at least on the batch account, on the pool, on the hierarchy, let me know. No, CMD, I'm not running on the local machine. No, I'm not running on the local machine. The command is not this. Let me take this question. No, the CMD, I'm not running on the local machine. It is getting running. It will run on that node pool. It will not run on the local machine. So what are the kind of tasks you can execute? You can execute anything. You can put a .NET application and you can run that task. You can put a batch process. You can run the task. If you want to go and put a batch process, there is a publish command. So you have to go and create a VM pool and then put a publish, and then you can run your .NET application. But remember that whatever you run, right, at the end of the day, I would say that stick to command line, because so that tomorrow you can run the same on Linux or anywhere, right? Yeah, so the node is any shared VM. Yes, it's any shared VM. Absolutely. Okay, so this is taking time. Yes, the node is any shared VM. But what? Why does the shared VM take so much time? These guys can really change their thought process as well. Why is this node taking so much time to start if this is a shared VM? I'm not really sure. But that's what the documentation says. The documentation says that node is nothing but it is a shared VM until you go and you select that you want a VM which is of a dedicated size. If you ask for a dedicated size, then there is nothing shared. Then you are given an allocated VM with a downsize cost. Right. So fine. So we'll wait for this. Now, guys, let us go and see the question as well. So let this code run here, and whenever it runs, we'll see the output, right? Let us go and see the question of this AZ204 very, very quickly and try to understand it. So you have an Azure batch process that processes and converts a file and stores the file in the Azure storage. So you have an Azure batch process which will convert the file and it will store it, right? You are developing a function to start the batch job. So you have a function which will start that batch job, right? So it has a file task, a list of tasks to be run. So these files has to be processed. So there is a task collection, a job ID that must be assigned to the job. So you'll have a job ID in that you have 10 files which you want to run. An output container URL which stores the successfully converted files. So that means that he says that he wants to probably convert this file to a PDF and send it to an Azure blob. So there is an output container where he will store the successful converted files and a failed container where he will store the copies of the file that are failed. So there is a successful container and there is a failed container where you want to store the task. So the question is, you must ensure that the converted files are placed in the container and the files which fails are placed in this, right? Good. So you need to ensure that the files are correctly processed. So what should you do with the code? So let us see the code out here. So this is the code what is out here, right? If you look at this code is the same kind of a code, which I have shown here, like the code which I showed here. If you remember, we created the object of the batch shared key credentials. We gave him the account URL and we gave him the account name. So if you remember this source code out here very, very quickly, this is the same code what is there in the exam. So if you see here, this small code out here, this batch shared key, it takes the URL, so this is the connection which happens to the batch account. So this connects to the batch account. And we can see to this batch, you will add a task. So you can see that there is a task created, right? And he's saying that go and open up the credentials. Now, if you see in our case, the previous Microsoft example which we ran, in that, we have said create job because we want to create a fresh job, right? But you can also go and you can manually create a job through the portal, and you can say get job also, right? So the question here is that, so what is good from this, right? So if you look at the question says that, let's look at the question. So if the question says, this job ID is coming as a parameter. Please note this job ID. If you see this job ID is coming as a parameter. So that means that this is going to be more runtime. So that's why create job is the answer for this. So over here, batch client.job creation, create job. And if you look at this code out here also, where I was showing you this thing, here also this was batch dot create job. But if you have an existing job, you can say get job. Please understand. If let us say he says that the job is created manually, right? If that question is tweaked like that, then the answer would be get job, right? So that is the first thing. So that's the first thing in the code. Now, what about the failures and the pass? So you can see there are more three things out here. So let us go and zoom out there, right? Now, one thing, which the Microsoft code, which I just shown, did not have is that it did not have the output file list. So very quickly, it did not have the output file destinations. So the code which we had done, it did not have this output file destination. Now this output file destination is nothing but, we can attach it to the file task, and we can say that the output file destination, if there is a task failure, what to do, and if there is a task success, what to do, right? So you can see, okay, there it is, guys. Just 2 minutes. We'll check this. You can see all tasks have been completed, which is very good. You can see my task was waiting there. I'm really not sure if this will get completed or not, but must be I can just go and see if my output file name is coming. Oh, you can see that he's saying some errors out here. Let us go and see what has happened at the back end. So guys, quickly, I'm just coming here. I'll just go to that question back. For some reason, the jobs failed. in the first attempt, my demo does not work. So that's for sure, it does not work. So there it is, quick job start here. And this time I took a Microsoft demo. It says that resource directory failed. So if I go out here, you can see the job started running, but view task failure information. Oh, you can see that I'm trying to get the local file path, and it says that this local file path is not existing, right? So that's a mistake in that Microsoft demo out there. They should actually, how do we get the current file path of the Azure blob? So you can see, guys, for some reason, you know, he is giving me this error out here, which is not working, right? Well, at this moment, I really need to check that how to get the current blob path. So I'll not try to do any R&D or Googling out here. But the error here clearly says that when you were trying to run that command cmd type, when you were trying to run that cmd type out here, this one, this input file name was having a path of my local. And that path is not existing on the server, isn't it? So on the server, it should be the blob path. So here, you know, somehow I need to give the blob path, and then only this will work. So that Microsoft example, what is given out there, has a bug out there, right? Did everyone get this? You know what this issue is? The issue is this file path, you know, has to be the file path of the server, because I already uploaded the file on the storage account. So he should take it from the storage account, right? I'm not running this command locally. As one of the questions somebody had asked is that, are you running this locally? No, like I'm not running it locally. This is running on that node. And on that node, there is nothing called as e.NET Azure batch and so on, right? Okay. So guys, let me go back to this question here. Must be if I fix this, I'll inform it later on. So let us go back to our question and let us try to complete that. So, okay. So here it is. For the success and the failure, right? Very quickly, we have the output file options. So we can use this output file options out here for the success and the failure. Very quickly. Okay. The output file options. So you can see here, one is the task success and one is the task failure, right? And very important, this output file list, you have to give it to the task.output files. Means this task has an output file where you say that what should happen when there is a success, what should happen when there is a failure, right? So in our code also, if you see this, if you see our task object out here, task, this one, this task out here has an output file. So you have to go and give two options of the output files as given in the code out here. One is for the task success, one is for the task error. So the answer for this thing is that first is create job, second is but obvious task success, but obvious task failure, right? And the last one is you have to specify the output files, right? So remember the answer, create job to start a job. If you see this code out here, it is damn simple. If you once go through the code, even if you don't know what you call Azure batch, you can still guess, right? Yes, this will be create job. It cannot be enable job. It cannot be get task, right? And definitely, you know, I cannot take task completion because he has very specifically asked that it is only for failure, failed and success. So, but obvious, you can, you will say the task success and you will say the task failure. This question, remember, this question also comes with a tweak. Let me, because in the last exam, you know, somebody had an issue as well. What they do is, if you see, this task success and this task failure is dependent upon this output blob failure, failed URL and the output success URL. So sometimes, you know, they interchange this. If they interchange this, right, then this first becomes the task failure and then becomes the task success. So just be very careful, because this first one here, this first URL points towards the success, right? So output container SAS URL, this output container is this. This failed container is this. But if they interchange, just see that then this becomes task failure and this becomes task success. And also I want to inform that sometimes they ask about task completion as well. They say that we want to just know the task completion. So there are 3 lines of code then, right? So that was the answer for this question, which is related to Azure storage. So guys, any question on Azure storage? I know that that demo again did not work, but I was expecting this time I did not create my own code. I took the code from Microsoft, right? Let me see that what the error is and how to figure out the path of the local of the node, and I will share it in the next class. So guys, any question on today's lecture? Azure batch storage. Azure batch storage helps you to run batch processes. And remember the hierarchy very quickly before we end the session, the hierarchy. We have a batch account. Inside the batch account, you will go and you will create a pool, right? And you will see that this pool has node 1, node 2, whatever number of nodes, and each one of these nodes out here can be Windows Server, it can be Linux or whatever. You will then create a job. Inside the job, you will have a task, and this task gets associated with this pool. And if you want, your batch can also go and take documents from the Azure storage, right? So you upload a file here and then you process it out here, right? Only thing is that just ensure the paths are proper. And for each one of them, there is an API given by .NET as well. So this is the task and so on, right? Okay, guys. So any questions out here? That's a good question, Amit. That's a very good question. That in AZ204, in the syllabus, they have not mentioned it. Absolutely right. So in the syllabus, they have not mentioned it. But if you see, like, this comes, with the storage account actually. It is not related to the storage. They have not said Azure batch task, but it gets connected to the storage account. Some of the questions of AZ203 is still relevant in 204. So this question, one of our friends who had recently gone for the exam, he got the Azure batch question. I was very surprised that he had got an Azure batch question. Very quickly, guys, just I want to make sure that everybody, we are on the same page. If you are preparing for the exam,